Here we have a traumatic cerebrospinal fluid leak secondary to endoscopic sinus surgery. You can see the leak in the posterior ethmoids on the right-hand side. Here we've injected intrathecal fluorescein, and you can see the green dye of the fluorescein itself leaking through that defect. There are a number of ways to do reconstructions, but our preferred method is using a nasoseptal flap. Here we harvest the nasoseptal flap, which is based on the posterior septal branch of the sphenopalatine artery. We do not need a full-length flap given the location of the defect itself, only enough tissue to cover that region. Once the flap is harvested and tucked out of the way, next begins preparation of the defect itself. We begin by denuding all the surrounding mucosa and allowing for exposed bone in the region. Typically, we'll also use bipolar cautery to cauterize any remnant mucosa. We'll also harvest a septal bone graft that we'll use later on for reconstruction. Here we measure up the approximate size of the flap itself to ensure adequate coverage, and once that's complete, we begin actual closure itself. Closure begins on small defects with bipolar cautery of the dura itself. Often these small defects will close simply with bipolar cautery. Following this, we'll place an underlay bone graft to allow for rigid support. And finally, once this is in good position, a small amount of surgical glue will be placed, and subsequently the flap itself will be placed over this entire area. Hopefully with good approximation with the surrounding bone, we'll have good take of the flap to close this area. Surgical glue is then applied, as well as any packing material of surgeon's choice. Postoperatively, you can see the bone graft in place.